Continuing with the Tournament of Power theme of the past few months, this year's Tanabata headliner was LR Blue Kaioken Goku and Evolution Blue Vegeta. This unit gained 70% attack and defense at the start of turn, and an additional 7% attack and defense per key sphere obtained. Furthermore, for every rainbow key sphere obtained, they gained 2 key, a 7% chance to crit, and an additional normal attack up to a maximum of 3 times within a turn. With 3 or more rainbow key spheres obtained, this unit could attack up to 5 times within the turn, and they dominated Super and Extreme Super Battle Road, the legendary Goku event, and Infinite Dragon Ball history. However, this LR had a few glaring flaws. They had a very mediocre leader skill, giving 150% to stats instead of 170% to all-out struggle and joined forces category allies, the former being one of the worst category additions in the game. Secondly, this unit didn't possess prepared for battle in their link set, meaning they shared little to no key links with non-universal survival saga category allies. Most importantly, however, it was very difficult to take advantage of the final part of their passive, as they had no reliable rainbow orb changers on any of their teams, and it was a massive struggle getting them the orbs they needed. On an ideal turn, they could easily look like the best unit in the game, but overall, they were a bit too inconsistent and ended up being just good on release. The usual Tanabata campaign events made their expected return, such as Wish Strips and Purunga Wishes. On Tanabata Day, they released the special Tanabata banner, allowing players to pick up the 5th anniversary LRs with red coins for the first time. A few days later, these Universe 2 free-to-play units received decent EZAs, and a week later, the best unit in the game, EZA Super Saiyan 3 Broly, descended onto Dokkan. Yeah, not really. He was still a glass cannon after EZAing, and a major liability defensively in any difficult event. However, the Part 2 LR for this year's Tanabata campaign released in the middle of July, and he was an actual contender for #1 unit in the game, LR Full Power Jiren. Jiren was arguably the best card in the game, eclipsing even UI Sign Goku in many people's eyes. Jiren was stunningly simple. He gained 200% attack and defense at the start of turn, and for every attack received, he gained 1 key up to 5 key. He was also super effective against all types when the enemy had their attack or defense lowered, and he performed guaranteed crits if they were stunned. And that was it. Just these few short lines in his passive allowed Jiren to claim the throne as the best unit in the game. His start of turn stats were much higher than pretty much every unit in the game, and he was what he was without any restrictions or intense setup. He was rocking 6 million plus attack stats and 200,000 plus defense at the start of turn, allowing him to bulldoze his way through every difficult event in the game. A significant portion of the player base were in denial over Jiren's dominance because he was such a simple, overpowered unit. But there was no doubt that Jiren was an absurd card that ran the game. They even helped Jiren further by releasing 2 new units, as well as 2 Universe 11 EZAs alongside him. Free-to-play Casserole was a great Universe 11 support unit that stacked defense, and banner unit Topo and Pride Troopers gained massive stats and guard with more Universe 11 allies present, on top of giving Universe 11 support. EZA Dispo wasn't too crazy, and EZA Topo gave 40% support and gained 40% damage reduction under 70% HP. These units drenched Jiren in tons of support and massively juiced his offensive numbers, helping flesh out his very limited Universe 11 category team. LR Jiren wasn't the only thing players had to look forward to around this time, because in the middle of July, Dokkan hit a monumental milestone, 2,000 days of operation. To celebrate, they released an EZA area for the first ever LR in the game, and players who reached 2,000 cumulative days of login were able to EZA 1000 Day LR Goku. 1000 Day Goku received a very powerful EZA, gaining 77% to stats, 1 additional key per orb obtained, and 7% attack, defense, and crit, as well as 7,777 HP per key sphere. He also gave 20% attack and defense support for 2 turns on his 12 key super, making additional super attacks on this unit very valuable. Prime Battle Goku's EZA area could only be attempted with a team of the following 6 characters, making it a massive grind to EZA this LR, but it was definitely worth it. Super Saiyan Goku similarly received a pretty big upgrade, now gaining 59% to stats, 3 ki and 59% defense as the first attacker, and 59% attack when attacking with 18 or more ki. He could shoot out very high attack stats for a free-to-play unit, and although he wasn't crazy defensively, he could hold his own from enemy normals. Dokkan had been on an absolute hot streak lately with their new major releases and EZAs, and with the next million download celebration on the horizon, excitement among players was sky high. All that stood between the community and another pair of game-breaking LRs was one final monthly Dokkanfest. But you can imagine everyone's collective shock when this end of July Dokkanfest turned out to be one of the most legendary releases the game had ever seen. TEQ Ultimate Gohan completely shattered the standard of how strong current top Dokkanfest could be. In his base form, Gohan gained 140% attack and defense and could guard all attacks. With just that single line in his passive, he was already one of the best defensive units in the game, essentially being EZA in Janemba but with double the defensive boost. After guard was activated, he gained 40% attack for the turn, and gained 1 ki at the start of every turn up to 3 ki. But what truly pushed this unit over the edge was his super attack stacking. We had units like Blue Kaioken Goku who greatly stacked attack, but needed time to build up their passive, and units like Int Goku Black who greatly stacked defense, but lacked meaningful defensive buffs in their passive. TEQ Gohan, however, greatly stacked both attack and defense by 50% on Super. This juggernaut of a unit, who already guarded all attacks and dealt respectable damage, could infinitely stack both attack and defense at a tremendous rate. He was invincible in long events, and even in Super and Extreme Super Battle Road, he could hold his own with little to no stacks. And he still had a whole transformation left in his back pocket. Starting from the 5th turn from the start of battle, Gohan could transform into Ultimate Gohan. Ultimate Gohan kept his guard ability and now gained 3 ki and 158% to stats at the start of turn. On top of that, once guard was activated, he gained 58% attack for the rest of battle, which caused his attack numbers to explode. And when facing one enemy with 58% HP or more, or a Majin Buu Saga enemy, he was super effective against all types. Ultimate Gohan no longer stacked attack and defense, instead gaining 50% attack for 1 turn on Super, so he was only brought out once it was time to wrap up the fight. And once you did, it was basically game over. With all of the defensive stacks he accumulated in base, Ultimate Gohan was quite literally untouchable in the hardest content available. His tanking stunned the player base, and he felt like he existed on an entirely different tier of brokenness. However, as with every game-breaking unit that wasn't a fusion, a sizable portion of the player base pushed back on the idea that Gohan was the new TUR king. There were 2 main criticisms of Gohan that players pointed out. First, his leader skill wasn't on par with the best Dokkanfest leaders at the time. Hybrid Saiyans was a good team, but Saviors felt like yet another addition to the garbage pile of terrible categories introduced throughout the year. The main flaw many players cited, however, was Gohan's lack of key links. Gohan only possessed Revival and Saiyan Lineage as key links. Revival was rare on most of his teams, and Saiyan Lineage only gave 1 key. As a result, he could sometimes struggle to get super attacks off in his opening turns in base, which could also hinder the performance of the units around him. This led some players to argue that STR Cooler was better and more valuable overall, thanks to his superior leader skill, support capabilities, and link set. But the truth was that even with these flaws, Gohan was clearly the strongest Dokkanfest TUR at the time. His defensive numbers dwarfed nearly every other unit in the game, and he wasn't lacking offensively either compared to other Dokkanfests. His most notable weakness was also heavily alleviated by one of the biggest updates Dokkan had ever received, the overhaul of the Link skill system. This new system was released with update 4.11 on July 21st, and it brought with it 3 important changes. The first change was that Link skills no longer doubled up in slot 2. If you have 3 cards with over and a flash on the same rotation, all 3 units will now get 3 ki, and the card in the middle will no longer receive 6 ki. The second change was the most impactful of the 3, the introduction of Link skill levels. Every Link was assigned a starting level of 1 and could be leveled up to level 10. As a Link skills level is raised, that Link will receive an effect increase or acquire an additional effect. After winning battles in most events, each Link has a chance to level up, though the higher the Link's current level, the lower the chance of it increasing further. This meant that characters only benefit from their own Link levels, regardless of their partner's Link level. The final change was the revamp of many older Links from flat stat boosts to percentage-based buffs, and several Link interactions were also adjusted. When Links that reduced defense or recovered HP are activated, their effects no longer stack between neighboring characters. Instead, only the effect of the character with the higher Link skill level will apply. Links that activate on super attacks such as Kamehameha now require both units to super attack for the Link to activate, whereas previously only one unit needed to reach 12 or more ki for the effect to trigger for both. These changes drastically reshape the landscape of the game, giving players something meaningful to grind for while significantly increasing the overall power ceiling of the game. The biggest winners of this update were characters with Links that granted additional ki at level 10. Majin and Saiyan lineage now gave 2 ki at Link level 10. This was a huge help for many Majin Buu units that previously struggled with ki, allowing them to super attack far more reliably. The changes to Saiyan lineage also greatly benefited TEQ Ultimate Gohan. While there were only a few strong units with this Link at the time, several powerful units would release in the near future that possess Saiyan lineage, further improving Gohan's consistency in base. Big Bad Bosses received the biggest upgrade, as its HP restriction was completely removed at level 10. This gave many villain units an unconditional 25% attack and defense boost. One villain in particular who experienced a resurgence because of these changes was LR Int Cell. The buffs to many of his Cell exclusive Links, along with the improvement to Big Bad Bosses, allowed him to reach much higher attack and defensive stats than he could on release, and he was once again a top 10 LR. The banner unit for Ultimate Gohan was fusing Supreme Kai and Kibito, and they were clearly designed to dominate Super Battle Road. They had a high chance to stun on Super, lowered the attacked enemy's attack and defense by 30% for 2 turns, and had a high chance to dodge. They were also the 3rd banner unit to possess an active skill, allowing them to fuse into Kibito Kai whenever you wanted. As Kibito Kai, they sealed on Super, and once only, lowered all enemies' attack and defense by 20%, while also stunning the attacked enemy for 2 turns. With such a vast array of utility and debuffing abilities, they were lifesavers in every Super Battle Road stage you could run them in. At the start of August, we received 2 powerful new EZA units, Super 17 and Buff Buu. Buff Buu was casually throwing out 3 million plus super attacks on the Majin Power team, and was a decent tank post-super thanks to his 20% damage reduction. Not only was he a fantastic option on Exchange Buu's team, but he was also a strong Extreme Tech unit, which was especially helpful for players who had yet to clear the Extreme Tech Extreme Super Battle Road stage. Super 17 was a top-tier EZA unit, becoming one of the most reliable tanks in the game once fully built up. He had a baseline 40% damage reduction and gained 1 ki up to 3, as well as 30% attack and 6% damage reduction with each hit received up to 5 times. 70% damage reduction combined with a 50% defensive raise from Super meant that Super 17 would age better than 99% of units, and he would remain viable for quite a long time. 10 new Super Battle Road stages were made available a week later, and many units released throughout the past year decimated these stages. UI Goku and Skinny Boo weaved through the Reps of Universe 7 stage, and Imp Frieza tanked everything in Wicked Bloodline with ease. Universe 6 essentially had its entire core roster released throughout the past few months, and the Blue Fusions and Gotenks were the go-to leaders for the final trump card in youth stages. The reward card for clearing this new set of stages was LR Goku and Gohan, whose primary role was to stack defense for longer events. The final banner before the major celebration at the end of the month was the Peppy Gals banner. Oceanic Shenron was decent, but Launch was undoubtedly the standout from the two. She led Peppy Gals for 120% and transformed into blonde hair Launch instantly at the start of the fight. For the first 6 turns from battle, Launch gained 3 key, 180% to stats, 50% chance to crit, 2 additionals with a high chance of being super attacks, and sealed the attacked enemy with another Peppy Gals ally on rotation. She was better than most LRs, capable of unleashing up to 4 supers in a turn with a high chance to crit, and her damage output wasn't far off from the top TURs. She also lowered attack and defense on super, allowing her to heavily debuff Super Battle Road enemies. But enough about monthly banner units. We were finally approaching the end of August, which meant it was time for the 350 million download celebration, or rather, what would have been called that. Understandably, it's unrealistic for the game to hit a brand new download milestone every single year, so this campaign was instead rebranded to the Worldwide Celebration, and everyone knew exactly what the theme would be. After last year's Cell Games Dual Dokkanfest, and the overwhelming number of hints, from V-Jump leaks to the end dates on certain story events, a Majin Buu Saga celebration was set in stone. A new Infinite Dragon Ball history stage against Babidi's army, and a chain battle featuring Super Buu were released at the start of the countdown. It seemed like we were gearing up for a dual Dokkanfest pertaining to the finale of the Majin Buu Saga, and players were beyond hyped that we would finally get LR Kid Buu in the game. But then came the unexpected reveal. When the updated app icon dropped, it featured a never-before-seen Goku and Vegeta card art. It quickly became clear that a new LR Super Vegeta would be headlining the worldwide celebration, and the reaction wasn't positive. Not only did this all but deconfirm LR Kid Buu, but we had just gotten an incredibly hype LR Vegito unit earlier in the year, and Global had just come off of their 5th anniversary. To most players, it felt repetitive and unnecessary. People were freaking out, and it seemed like the worldwide celebration would end up being a major disappointment. But all of that changed the moment the headliner's animation and details were officially revealed, completely blowing the community away.